Well, the President's directive to the Auditor General to proceed on leave now in court will hear from civil society on the latest development. Meanwhile, members of the Coalition of Affected Savings and Loans Customers officially declare support for the National Democratic Congress as candidate Mahama promises to pay their outstanding funds, now put at 21 billion Ghana cedis.
Based on the promise the ex-president Mahama has come out with, if they don't take care and revise their payment plan, majority of them will be tempted to vote for NDC and the ex-president, despite the fact that they might even be MPP members.
Meanwhile, government says over 96% of all customers whose monies got locked up in the banking sector and financial institutions collapse have been paid. Ghana Health Service justifies its president's decision to allow commercial vehicles to resume operations at full capacity.
The evidence we have here doesn't show that the risk of transfer in the car is that. So that's why, with the wearing of masks and the cleaning of surfaces regularly, the risk of transfer or contamination in a vehicle is.
Stay for details as Ghana's COVID-19 case increases to 34,406. And in business,
Public Interest and Accountability Committee accuses government of misappropriation of petroleum revenue, including payment of unbudgeted debt.
Go to a project and it's just about 50,000 Ghana cedis of oil money that is in the project that cost about 46 million Ghana cedis. Go to the site and you don't know what the 50,000 Ghana cedis came to do.
And later in this bulletin, former President Mahama has learned his lessons from his previous government to perfect his new administration from 2021. Words of a leading member of the NDC, Kwame Nahoy, as he suggests what caused the party's defeat in the 2016 elections.
I think that the biggest mistake he made at the beginning of his presidency was to surround himself with people who were not core NDC members.
My name is Aisha Ibrahim. We're live from our studios in Kokomlemle in Accra on digital terrestrial TV because we're free to air on your DSTV channel 421 and GoTV channel 144. Many thanks for choosing us. We start with the failure by public officials to declare their assets and provision of false information on assets will soon attract a maximum of 2 years prison sentence when the Conduct of Public Officials Bill 2018 becomes law. The bill today went through second reading in Parliament, during which MPs debated principles of the bill. The bill will allow the Auditor General to vet asset declaration documents submitted by a public officer, unlike the current regime where the document goes under lock and key. It will repeal the current asset declaration law. A report of Parliament's Constitutional and Legal Affairs Committee on the bill is recommending about 34 amendments to it. Attorney General Gloria Kufu told Parliament the new bill will strengthen the fight against corruption.
Mr. Speaker, honorable members of Parliament, the purpose of the Conduct of Public Officers Bill is to give effect to Chapter 24 of the 1992 Constitution, domesticate the United Nations Convention Against Corruption and the African Union Convention on Preventing and Combating Corruption, and to provide for other purposes. A public officer is required to exhibit professionalism, to avoid improper enrichment, and not to solicit or accept gifts. Clauses 21 and 22 of the bill indicate what acceptable or prohibited gifts and enjoins a public officer to determine, among others, whether the gift is intended to seek favor from the public officer or to influence the public officer to contravene the law, regulations, code of conduct, or the policy of the organization that the public officer belongs to. The Commissioner is required to make regulations for the forfeiture and disposal of prohibited gifts by legislative instruments. A public officer is also required to exhibit political neutrality. Right, Honorable Speaker? It is the expectation of government that this Honorable House will assist in attaining the intended objective of the bill by its passage.
Ranking member on Parliament's Constitutional and Legal Affairs Committee, Nusaf Hussaini, criticized Supreme Court justices and the AC deputy chairpersons who Shraj recently found guilty of not declaring their assets. He says such situations will change when the new bill becomes law.
The Speaker, it has been said in our report, and the Attorney General and Minister of Justice has repeated same in this House this morning, that existing legislation on corruption and punishment have been found to be inadequate to deal with public office accountability. And that is the state of affairs as we speak. Mr. Speaker, the Constitution uses mandatory terms in requiring a public officer appointed in the office to declare his assets. But Mr. Speaker, we have seen of late that mandatory provision abused with impunity. Officers of the Electoral Commission, Mr. Speaker, 2 officers of the Electoral Commission have been found by Shraj to have declared their assets more than 1 year after their appointment. This definitely is unacceptable. Mr. Speaker, officers of the Judicial Service have been found not to have declared their assets in the face of the mandatory provisions requiring the declaration of such assets. Clearly unacceptable. But Mr. Speaker, why does that practice persist? It persists because the sentencing regime, the sanctions under the laws mandating the declaration of assets are not punitive. They are not punitive. And that is what this bill is seeking to address. Something must be done. If indeed we intend to keep to our commitments under the UN Convention and under the African Convention to fight corruption and ensure that the resources of state go into areas for which they are intended to go.
Let's now talk about COVID-19, because today Ghana Health Service has justified the President's decision to allow commercial vehicles to resume operations at full capacity. According to the service, there is no study that proves that COVID-19 spreads in vehicles. We'll hear from the Director General shortly on this transport issue. But first, a look at Ghana's current case count. And right there on your screens, it's now 33,624. That's the current case count in Ghana. And the new cases are 655. That was also announced by the GHS Director. Active cases now stand at 3,655. Recoveries and discharge stand at 29,801. And deaths now stand at 168. But it appears Ghana's quest to have a quicker and efficient testing may tarry a while, because the FDA says all 34 rapid antibodies diagnostic tests have all failed to pass validation. Mimi Dakun is the Chief Executive Officer.
From 16th April 2020 to 17th July 2020, we have received 34 RDTs for validation. These RDTs have come in from Ghana, 1 from Ghana, China, USA, Canada, Korea, Finland, Malaysia, Singapore, and the UK. I will just give you an idea of what we have so far for all of them. Taking all of them into consideration, we have a specificity of between 85 and 99%, and a sensitivity of between 4 and 54%. Please bear in mind that I said an RDT that is validated should be 99% before it is considered acceptable for use. Why do we require an RDT to be highly sensitive? If an RDT is highly sensitive, it means that all the true positives will be captured. If it is highly specific or specificity, it means that all the true negatives will also be captured. So the fewer false results you have, the better it is for the population. Antibodies tell us who has had the virus and how far wide it is spread. Yes, it is a quicker method to use than maybe the PCR. It is some of them 15 minutes and you have your results. However, for an antibody test to be useful, we need to be able to trust the results that they give. Currently, considering that most of the people who are having or who get COVID are showing no symptoms and or showing very few symptoms, this is the more reason why a highly sensitive RDT is most important for this population.
You recall there was wide criticism when President Akufo-Addo eased restrictions allowing commercial vehicles to resume operations at full capacity. Well, guess what? Director General of the Ghana Health Service, Dr. Patrick Umabuaje, has been explaining the science behind that directive.
For the transport, I think I'll explain how you can contract the disease. It can be from contact through fomites, and then you put on your face or whatever, and in your orifices that you're able to get. There are also droplets that also comes from the person who is positive. And these are from your breathing, your speaking, your singing, etc. And so the risk of infection is first by close contact and also by very close, and then the respiratory activity. So if you look at other places, when you are talking, when you are singing, when you are shouting, you are expressing more viruses, and so the risk of contamination is good. What we also know about transportation is that besides the social distancing, the cleaning of surfaces, etc., is routine. The wearing of masks is routine. But we also know that activity in a car is not like in other places. And based on our own experience in all our contact tracing we've been doing, we've had several instances where we have picked a positive case who was in a vehicle. Bono is to Wa, in so many of these places, and we have not been able to identify anybody who became positive because he was in the car with these people. Someone had traveled all the way from Accra to Wa, and several instances. So the evidence we have here doesn't show that the risk of transfer in the car is there. So that's why with the wearing of masks and the cleaning of surfaces regularly, the risk of transfer or contamination in a vehicle is reduced. And that's what informed the decision to allow for that to take place. But of course, we'll continue observing.
Joining me via Zoom is infectious diseases specialist Dr. Bertha Ayi. First, Dr. Bertha, many thanks for joining us. Let me take your thoughts on the justification that there is no study that has proven that the disease spreads faster in vehicles.
Well, thank you so much for having me, Aisha. I think instead of focusing on the particular policy, I just want people's minds to be drawn to principles. It's sort of like when you go to school to do math, a plus sign is always going to be a plus sign, whether you're sitting at home or you work in a bank or you're in a school or a university. A plus sign doesn't change. It is a basic fundamental principle of math. In the same way, I want us to apply the principles of this virus outside of whether you're in a car or in a plane. What we do know is that of all the things that we've talked about in terms of preventing this infection, starting from hand washing, face masks, the one thing that has never changed is the fact that keeping a distance of 1 meter is extremely important in preventing this infection. In fact, when you do that, the risk reduction is as much as 82%. And there was a study published in The Lancet by Xu and Associates, which I sent to you earlier today. It is the one that the WHO and most authorities have gone with in implementing the 3 feet distance policy. And in fact, they showed, which makes perfect sense, that when you double this distance to 2 meters, you even reduce your risk by another 2-fold. And so keeping away from people is extremely important, whether you're sitting in a plane, in a car, or at church. So I personally don't think that it is the car per se. It is the fact that you should keep a distance. So when you look at the way our commercial vehicles are structured, I have sat in a trotro many times. It's chikeya, and you're really like close to people, sometimes right in people's face. So I want people to look at the science and make a decision for themselves whether it is advisable to be in a crowded commercial vehicle. And we also know that now the disease is not just spread by droplets. We have evidence that it's aerosolized, meaning it stays as small 5-micron particles that can hang in the air for up to 3 hours. And this was the evidence that was presented in another paper that looked at evidence from ships, people who had, I don't know if you remember, there was a US soldier who blew a whistle that there was an outbreak on a ship, for example.
Absolutely.
There was a ship that was docked in Japan, the Diamond Princess ship. They were able to prove that because the virus was hanging in the air in aerosols, that is why almost 3,500 people were infected on that Diamond Princess ship alone. So, I mean, I would advise that in spite of the policy, if you're going to be in any environment, it doesn't necessarily have to be a commercial vehicle, but anything that allows you to be in very close proximity to any person, closer than 1 meter, you either have to avoid it or think twice. In fact, it is the reason why we put on masks, is because you think that you're going to be closer than 1 meter to somebody, so you're putting on the mask to reduce the risk. So I want to look at it like I use the plus sign or the minus sign. I want to look at it in terms of principle. We don't need to have a study looking at vehicles because we know the virus, how the virus behaves. So it's a matter of circumstance, because it could be a train, it could be a ship, it could be an aeroplane. The important thing is that you have to keep a good distance because you don't know who has it and how it's going to be spread.
Doc, should we be worried about this because of the kind of population and the kind of economy we have? You know that a number of, a huge portion of the population make use of commercial vehicles. Now we have to take the decision by ourselves and say we don't want to take public transport, but we don't have any choice if we have to.
Well, so you know what? Managing this virus is like walking a tightrope between two mountains. You sort of have to keep going because you might fall at any time. On the one hand, you have to make a decision on how this is affecting, first of all, the economy as a whole and how it's affecting the transportation industry. People need to keep their families going. So I empathize with that. I get that. But at the same time, we don't have to ignore the fact that we do have an issue on our hands and our numbers are not going down. Countries like Rwanda have been praised because as of today, they only have about 1,800 cases, or they have only 5 deaths in the country. Why? Because they're testing. And when they find you, you don't go home. You're going to an isolation center. They're tracing everybody. So there are some basic principles that you need to follow before you allow certain things to happen. Are we testing everyone who could possibly be infected? Are we isolating these individuals? Are we contact tracing every positive person? Clearly, if we're not doing that and we ease restrictions and we allow large numbers of people to get into vehicles, I think it's like adding 1 + 1. The response is going to be 2. So clearly, we're going to have an increase in cases. We just have to decide as a nation that when we get the increase, this is how we're going to manage it.
I'm grateful for your time. Dr. Bertha Aye is an infectious diseases specialist. She joined us all the way from the U.S. But join us is learning tonight that Auditor General Daniel Domelevo has been locked out of his office days after he was directed by the president to proceed on a compulsory leave. Mr. Domelevo had passed by the office today while serving his 167 days compulsory leave to pick some documents. He, however, discovered that the locks to his office door had been changed as he attempted to open it. We have secured a recording of the Auditor General's attempt to access his office. Watch this.
There's no need for trying.
Yeah, but the key cannot even enter.
It's a different.
How do you see that? It was flat like this,
yeah, so this,
and they changed it to this one. So that is fine.
The directive to the Auditor General to proceed on leave is now a subject of a court case. The case is scheduled to be heard tomorrow. And in other news, former President John Mahama says his next government will pay customers their monies locked up in collapsed financial institutions. He said the next NDC administration shall not put up any long-term payment plans that will further worsen the living conditions of the victims of the collapsed institutions. Speaking at the outdooring of his running mate Monday, the NDC flag bearer said it is heart-wrenching to hear government officials justify the huge amounts it is spending to manage the impact of the collapse, which has now been put at 21 billion Ghana cedis. Leadership of the Coalition of Affected Savings and Loans Customers say their members are pushing for the group to officially declare support for the National Democratic Congress in the upcoming elections. Secretary Ezekiel Ano Akakpo says calls have intensified following assurance from the former President John Mahama to pay the locked-up funds in 1 year when he is re-elected.
And now this ex-president Mahama comes to tell us that he will make sure that within 1 year he pays us. I believe, per what our members are saying, and from the information we are gathering, they said they prefer that 1 year period to the 5 years period. And my brother, if I tell you the number of people who are suffering as a result of this, and the number of people who are crying because of their money, it will surprise you. So what we are appealing to the president and the current government is that we thank them for starting the payment. We are grateful to them. We've expressed our numerous appreciation to them on that. But one thing we are telling them is that based on the promise the ex-president Mahama has come out with, if they don't take care and revise their payment plan, whereby making sure that every affected customer will receive his or her locked-up fund before 7 December, but will still go by the cap of 70,000 and the bond of 5 years. I believe majority, even if not all of our our members, majority of them will be tempted to vote for NDC and the ex-president, despite the fact that they might even be MPP members.
No, Coalition of Aggrieved Customers of Men's Gold have supported the stand, but they want a clear guideline to the fulfillment of the promise, even though they see the statement as assuring.
The comment from the flag bearer, that is JDM, is very reassuring, but we want him to be more specific with Men's Gold, that when I come, within 1 year, I'll make sure that all Men's Gold customers retrieve their investment. That is what we want to hear from him publicly, so that the customers will not have any doubts in their mind. So that we can also go all out there and sell his message to our people.
Yeah, I think it's feasible, and he has been in government before, so he knows the pros and cons and all that in the government. So for him to promising that, yeah, I think it's possible. And it tells me he's a thinking individual, because he thinks about other people. You know, you hold the door. If you're a leader, what you do is you hold the door for others to enter before you close it. You don't open the door and enter and close it and leave the rest behind.
Meanwhile, Deputy Minister of Finance Charles Boahene says government has paid over 96% of all customers whose monies got locked up in the banking sector and financial institutions collapse. He says the rest of the 4% of customers whose payments have delayed are due to court actions. He says government has set aside 3.1 billion cedis for the payments. He says the noise being made over non-payment are by only a few people. Mr. Boahene made the comments whilst debating the 2020 mid-year budget review on the floor of Parliament, a day former President John Mahama assured a future NDC government will pay all depositors in full within a year.
We have also paid over 96% of the depositors in the savings and loans, microfinance and banking sector. Mr. Speaker, 96% of depositors have been paid in full. So it's the remaining 4% who make the most noise that are still outstanding and are yet to be paid. Mr. Speaker, in paying these depositors, we used a combination of bonds and cash. We paid them 20% in cash and 80% in bonds. The bonds were structured to pay out over 4 years, amortizing 0 coupon, meaning that we were paid 20% of the face value every year for the next 4 years. Mr. Speaker, we came up with this structure in a recognition of the fact that we had to watch the public purse and make sure that we used the scarce resources we had judiciously. Mr. Speaker, when we looked at the deposits of most of these depositors in these savings and loans and MFIs, we realized that depositors had been attracted by the lure of very high interest payments, sometimes exceeding 10% a month. So basically, people had innocently gone to put their monies with these institutions, believing that they were going to earn really high returns, as compared to the more conservative people who had deposited their monies with better capitalized banks that were paying them maybe 1 or 2% a month.
Still to come in this bulletin, former President Mahama has learned lessons from his previous government to perfect his new administration from 2020. Words of a leading member of the NDC, Kwame Nahoi, as he suggests what caused the party's defeat in the 2016 elections.
I think that the biggest mistake he made at the beginning of his presidency was to surround himself with people who were not core NDC members.
And in business, Public Interest and Accountability Committee accuses government of misappropriating petroleum revenues, including payment of unbudgeted debts.
Go to a project and it's just about 50,000 Ghana cedis of oil money that is in the project that cost about 46 million Ghana cedis. Go to the site and you don't know what the 50,000 Ghana cedis came to do.
Details shortly with Sandra Peno when she comes with business.
Hello, good evening, everyone. I am Sandra Esinamapeno. As always, I'm here for business. The Public Interest and Accountability Committee, PIAC, is raising concerns about the abuse of the petroleum revenue by government. The committee cites instances where the funds were used to pay old debts, some even unbudgeted for. Speaking in a yet-to-be-aired exclusive interview with Joy Business, Technical Manager at PIAC, Mark Agyemang, said the practice is against public financial management and also raises value for money concerns.
The projects are commendable, others are not. Others are in deplorable state, others have started even deteriorating before even commissioning, and others still, because of the way they've scattered what we call thin spread of the money, go to a project and it's just about 50,000 Ghana cedis of oil money that is in the project that cost about 46 million Ghana cedis. So that makes proper accounting for the petroleum revenue in that project very difficult, because when you go to the site and you don't know what the 50,000 Ghana cedis came to do. What we've also noticed through this monitoring exercise is that some projects were completed as far back as sometimes 2008, 2009, 2010. And in 2019 or 2018, they are using petroleum revenues to pay for outstanding debts. Another thing we've also noticed is that because there's lack of proper planning in executing these projects, most of the projects, especially road projects, delays and therefore brings its consequences of cost overruns. Sometimes a project is initially estimated to cost 6 million Ghana cedis. Because of delays and variations, 5 years later, you go and it has ballooned to sometimes 20 million, 30 million Ghana cedis. That is not proper use of petroleum revenues or even national resources as a whole.
The full interview will air on Friday on the Joy News channel. Away from that, as the political season gets heated, private sector businesses are seeking to influence party manifestos. The Private Enterprise Federation has started engaging the two major political parties on what they deem crucial for business development, especially during the COVID-19 era. Speaking to Joy Business after a national validation workshop, Chief Executive of the Federation, Nana Osei-Bonsu, said policies aimed at boosting domestic production should be top priority for any political party that wants to win power in the upcoming elections.
The December elections are barely 6 months away. Private businesses are seeking to influence the policies of political parties. They deem this critical for their survival, especially during the season of the COVID-19 pandemic. With funding from Star Ghana, the Private Enterprise Federation has begun engagements with the two major political parties to adopt various recommendations sensitive to local private sector operations. Speaking to Joy Business at the end of a validation workshop in Accra, Chief Executive Officer of the Private Enterprise Federation, PEF, Nana Osei-Bonsu, explained investment in domestic production should be the focus of any political party that wins power.
This COVID-19 has leveled the playing field. It had brought to fore the need to domesticate every activity. Let me give you an example. When the COVID hit, if we didn't have businesses who could make the face masks and the requisite PPEs, I don't know where Ghana would have been. So it's brought to the point that let's bring our attention to the local business. And when I say local business, it's not the local ownership alone. Businesses that are operating in Ghana, both left and right, to capacitate them to be able to do what they need to do. So, because previously the emphasis had always been foreign direct investments. Well, it's good to have partners coming in. Once they do, whatever they bring in is going to go in 4 multiples. They're going to take something out. But if you have the emphasis in the local, it stays here.
But how well is PEF doing with engaging the political parties?
Already we have met with NDC, their manifesto team. We had some hours long of discussion. There's a subsequent discussion, a breakfast meeting coming up soon. We have engaged the NPP through correspondence. We haven't had a physical dialogue yet, and that is how we want to. Because what we bring to the table, we want a discussion for them to understand and appreciate the merits of what we're doing.
Okay. At the end of the engagements, PEF hopes to develop a consolidated private sector position paper advocating an enabling environment for business growth, which will be presented to the political parties for consideration in their manifestos.
Back after 8 p.m. with more business news. Thanks so much for watching.
Time for the sport. I'm Gary Al Smith. The Minister of Information, Kojo Nkrumah, has explained why 2 female national teams, that's the Black Maidens and the Princesses, were given permission to camp ahead of their international assignment. According to him, the Ghana Football Association assured the government that they could ensure the safety of the teams.
Patients and fans have raised concerns, with some saying that granting the 2 female teams the opportunity to come for international competitions means government is deliberately stopping their efforts to organize their competitions. But Kojo Nkrumah, Minister for Information, explained that the football governing body assured government that they would ensure the safety of the players and the technical teams.
You would observe that sporting activities generally were banned. And then during the first phase of the easing of restrictions, individual non-contact sports were exempted. Now, a request has been made by the sporting authorities upon consultation with the Ghana Health Service that for these 2 teams, they can put in place a mechanism to ensure that their safety is assured while they prepare for this, for these tournaments. And so what the President announced is the policy approval that these teams, the Ghana Health Service, the Ghana Football Association, and then their management teams will work on the details of that and execute that. At this high level, we'll not be outlining all of those details. I'm sure the Ghana Health Service and the Ghana Football Association, etc., are able to then provide you the details of what they will be doing to give life to those assurances that they have given that they can manage this very small number at their own level.
The Black Maidens will play Nigeria, while the Princesses will take on Guinea-Bissau in the FIFA U17 and U20 Women's World Cup qualifiers, respectively. The FIFA Under-20 Women's World Cup final will be staged in Costa Rica from January 20 to February 6, 2021. For the U17 Women's World Cup to be hosted in India The tournament will kick off on February 17 and end on March 7, 2021.
Now, the supposed neglect of juvenile football, especially Coles football, is one major reason why Ghana and in the local game domestically and nationally has taken a nosedive. Many people have claimed. Former Black Star striker Prince Tego is one of such. Now, he says Ghana lost its foundation the very moment we stopped investing in Coles football.
Coles football was a hub of talent generation in Ghana until recently. Many have attributed Ghana's failure in recent times to create a footballing identity due to the supposed neglect of juvenile football. Prince Tego, a former Black Stars player who was a member of the 2010 World Cup squad, in an interview with Joy Sports, suggested how football at the grassroots can be developed.
I think it's very simple to reactivate it. I mean, it's about making sure all the government schools have their own tournament that they play.
I see.
Regardless the sector or which region they are. The private schools also have to do the same, those who really want to participate. That is where we can get most of the young talent ones. And we have to make sure also that, I mean, where the less privileged to, I mean, those areas too, they can create this kind of, like you said, this kind of course, properly registered league for the young ones. Because when it is being announced that maybe Accra, if you want to do course, this is the amount you need, you can register and, I mean, do your own place. And we are coming to have a course league. That is when you can have people trying to, I mean, register. We will get it going.
In Dafa Park, is Mike noted to have been the center that footballers such as Stephen Appiah, Mahatma Otu, Laie Kingston, and many others were unearthed. Tego claims Ghana lost its foundation of the next football stars.
Yeah, I think we've lost a very big foundation when it comes to football. I remember those times when I was a bit young. I mean, when it comes to even some of the Premier League matches, people prefer to watch Coast matches, the young ones, and the crowd is very huge. So I believe if we can bring this Coast system back, it will help Ghana football very, very well. Because most talents were being picked from those kind of angle. If you can check and, I mean, check your records well, I mean, from Stephen Appiah, all these big players, everybody was very, very active in Coast football.
The new GFA administration, led by Kurt Okraku, has made juvenile football a major area to focus on.
Still moving on to foreign football, and the Premier League finished on Sunday. The Joy Sports team has been carrying you along from the beginning of the season through the COVID break until now. You may recall that we did this before the season started. So if you go to our Instagram, the Joy Sports team have brought back the predictions we made at the start of the season and see how spectacularly wrong we got it. George Addo said Man City would win the league, Liverpool would be second, Spurs would be third, Chelsea fourth, fifth for Everton and sixth. Next person, Hans Mensa Ando said City will win, Liverpool second, Spurs third, Chelsea fourth, United fifth, Arsenal sixth. Benedict, Man City first, Liverpool second, Arsenal third, fourth, Spurs, Chelsea fifth, United sixth. And Moses Eboa, one of our producers, also said Liverpool will win. He said Manchester City will be second. He got it right. But third, fourth, fifth, and sixth, he didn't. Nathaniel Ato said Liverpool will win, Man City second, Spurs, Arsenal, Chelsea, Man United, all wrong. And Baba Tando, Man City wrong, Liverpool wrong, Arsenal wrong, Spurs wrong, Chelsea wrong, and Manchester United wrong. And me, I got the Liverpool right, Man City right, Spurs, Arsenal, Chelsea, and Man United wrong. Roku Ampofo, he had everything wrong. So yeah, those are the predictions for the Joy Sports team. You can check them out on our Instagram. That's at Joy Sports GH. I'm Gary Al Smith, and thank you for your time. I'll be back on the other side of 8 o'clock.
It's time now for Showbiz. Becky, is here with the very latest from that world. Hi, Becky.
Hello to you, Aisha. How you doing?
I'm good. Prior in the scene, it's been a while after Angelina Committal and all that.
We'll talk a bit about Prior and R2Bs, but yesterday, if you're an Instagram user or if you're on social media, or if you were on social media, you noticed that we have women especially sharing a black and white photo of themselves, you know, just basically creating awareness of women supporting each other.
I mean, we're a sister's keeper.
Yeah, so basically that's what happened yesterday. And I mean, I think that it was something beautiful. So you see Martha Nkuma there, you know, sharing Yvonne Nelson, sharing, you know, pictures showing that we need to support each other as
that's
women.
Even Naji right there.
Yes. So basically, I don't know whether you shared yours, did you?
I didn't, Becky.
I have to nominate you because you have to nominate it before. So the challenge accepted, you know.
Okay, that's Doreen Aviel there.
I hope I show before.
Okay.
David actually decided to take me out, but it's okay. I'm not angry.
David, why?
So this is actually across, you know, the world. Everybody jumped on it. That's a beautiful. Basically, just share your pictures. Just share your pictures in black and white.
Supporting your fellow
women support. I think that's what we need, Aisha. I support you like all the time.
We need to be each other's keeper. That's this one right there, Nadia Buhari.
Yeah, that's Nadia Buhari.
Our own Nadia Buhari.
Yeah. So I didn't come.
Don't worry.
I thought I shared my.
Don't worry. That's fine. I'm still there for you.
Thank you.
I always do that.
I'm proud of you. I just had to say that. But today was R2Bs.
Okay.
When was the last time you heard anything from them?
It's been a while. It's been a while, but we still enjoy their music.
Yeah, they're not always in the news. I mean,
R2Bs,
yes, they are on Spotlight today.
Thank you so much for bringing us to this. Welcome back to Joy News Prime. Now to the rest of our stories. And the Joabin Circuit Court has sentenced a student of Ejisu Sectec into a day in prison. Gagisbeg Asemeti pleaded guilty to a charge of stealing. He's one of two students locked up overnight in the office of the assistant headmaster of Ejisu Sectec, who has been jailed for stealing a stabilizer belonging to the school. He's to also pay a fine of 1,200 and sign a bond of good behavior for 12 months. As Erastus Asaridonko reports, the other student also accused of stealing attempted suicide. There's more in the following report.
It was court day today here at the Joabin Circuit Court, and we had two people appearing before the court, presided over by Her Ladyship Veronique Praba Tete. And these two people involved one, a student of the school, who together with another colleague were alleged to have scaled the wall of the school and stolen the electric stabilizer of the school. Now, if you remember, these two students were allegedly held by the assistant headmaster in his office overnight, leading to one of them trying to take his own life. Now, appearing before the court today, Gagisbeg Asemeti, an 18-year-old student, pleaded not guilty to charges of unlawful entry, but pleaded guilty with explanation to conspiracy to commit crime. And after his explanation that they did not intend to steal the electric stabilizer, the judge herself entered a not guilty plea on his behalf. Now he pleaded guilty to another charge of stealing the school's electric stabilizer, and he was convicted on that count to spend a day in jail and pay an amount of 1,200 Ghana cedis, and he's also to sign a bond of good behavior for 12 months. Now, second to appear before Her Ladyship was the assistant headmaster of the Ejisu Technical School, Apia Albert Kofi. Now, he was charged with assault. The court explained to him that when the students were arrested by the taxi driver and handed over to him, he allegedly slapped the two of them before locking them up in the office. And he also faces charges of unlawful imprisonment and abetment to commit crime, to wit, suicide, attempted suicide, and they explained to him that indeed he left harmful substances in his office, and knowing very well that he had harmful substances in his office, he locked the students up in there overnight, leading to one of them drinking detergent, leading to his hospitalization. He pleaded not guilty to all the 3 charges, and he has been granted bail of 5,000 Ghana cedis with 1 surety to appear before the court again next month. Now, the other student who attempted suicide whilst in custody in the office of the assistant headmaster could not come to court today. His father came to court with a medical report from the Ejusu Government Hospital indicating that he has been hospitalized, and so he faces a charge of attempted suicide, and the case has been adjourned to next month. Reporting for Joy News, Erastus Asaredonko, Kumasi.
And here in Accra and in the studio, my name is Aisha Ibrahim. Now, the Supreme Court has, in a unanimous decision, dismissed a case challenging the accreditation of the Ghana School of Law as the only institution to provide professional law courses. CDD Fellow in Public Law and Justice, Professor Stephen Asare, dragged the Attorney General and the General Legal Counsel to court, arguing the current arrangement on legal education is unconstitutional. Court correspondent Joseph Akable reports.
Professor Asare wanted the court to rule that pursuant to Article 25(2) of the 1992 Constitution, accredited public and private universities have the right, at their own expense, to establish and maintain law faculties to offer the professional law course that prepares students for qualifying certificate examination. The said provision reads, quote, "Every person shall have the right, at his own expense, to establish and maintain a private school or schools at all levels and of such categories and in accordance with such conditions as may be provided by law," end quote. He also wanted a declaration that the distinction between professional law course run by the Ghana School of Law and the academic law course run by approved universities is arbitrary and capricious and done only to further the monopoly power of the Ghana School of Law in violation of Articles 296B. This was opposed by the AG and the General Legal Counsel. Professor Asare has been an advocate for the professional program to be run by accredited universities for years. The 7-member panel comprising Justices Gbadegbe, Apel, Mafosau, Doji, Amegacha, Professor Kote, and Owusu were unanimous in their decision. The court held that the case does not properly trigger the jurisdiction of the courts. The full reasons are to be filed at the court's registry.
And now, a leading member of the National Democratic Congress, Professor Kwame Nahoi, has said John Mahama will be a good president if elected in the December 7 polls. According to him, the former president has learned lessons from his previous government to perfect his new administration from 2021. Speaking in an exclusive interview with Kojo Yankson, Professor Ahoy said the biggest mistake for President Mahama made was to surround himself with individuals who are not core NDC members. This phenomenon, he said, created a disconnect between his government and the party.
He could have been a good president, and he will be a good president from 2021, because I believe that he has learned some lessons from some of the mistakes that he made. I think that the biggest mistake he made at the beginning of his presidency, not when he was finishing off President Mills' time, but at the beginning of his presidency, was to surround himself with people who were not core NDC members. His special advisor or whatever was not, his secretary was not, his secretary to the cabinet was not, so many of them. And so there was a divorce between the government and the party. And therefore, it was not very easy for the party's program to be implemented. To a large extent, it was a program of the bureaucracy that was being implemented and not the program of the party. But I think halfway through, he realized the problem, and so he changed course. And that's when he brought in Julius Debra as his chief of staff. He brought in what was his name? The deputy something at the AU now. Kotti.
Yes.
Yeah, as a secretary. I mean, yes. He changed his immediately because he realized the problem that had been that had been created. And I think that since we came into position, he has been working with the party people very, very closely. And that's why I think that he will be a very successful president. But even in his presidency, I think that he did very well in terms of development, especially. His development agenda was excellent. But I think it was his handling of the party that created problems for him.
He says his preferred choice for running mate was not Professor Nana Jane Opoku-Agyeman, but accepts the candidate's choice.
Known Jane for a long time. We are actually age mates. We were both born in 1951. I'm only 1 month ahead of her. I was born in October. She was born in November. We entered secondary school together. We left together. I have known her for a long time. In 1996, I was the one who brought her from Cape Coast University to come and interview President Rawlings on Radio Gold. We have been very close together. But she was President Mahama's education minister. She was also my education minister. So if anybody should be a better judge of her as a politician, it should be President Mahama. It's not me. I think that she's President Mahama's choice. It is not time yet. Otherwise, I would reveal to you what I did and who my preferred choice was for the number 2, for the running mate position.
It wasn't Jane?
No, it wasn't Jane. But the moment she was announced, I accepted her because I know she's very good material. And we are also, charting a new course. We are breaking the glass ceiling, as they say. And you can see the confusion that it has caused in the opposition, in the government party camp, because I think this was the last thing that they imagined would happen. But I think that it is a brilliant ticket. Nana is a lady of steel. You don't run a big university like Cape Coast University with all these professors, a medical school, a law faculty, this and all of that. I mean, it takes guts to be able to, manage an institution. It's not even an institution. It's a city. It's a secondary city because population of Cape Coast University is bigger than most of the secondary cities that we have in Ghana. So she has managerial acumen, and I think she has performed well, and she deserves it. It's a good ticket. I recommend it to Ghanaians.
The Savannah Regional Police Command have arrested the chiefs of Kafaba in the East Gonja municipality of the Savannah region. Zakaria Yahaya was arrested for his alleged roles leading to the murder of a 90-year-old Mame Kuya Demeti, who was accused of witchcraft. The Savannah Regional Police Commander Enoch Educhum Bediako confirmed the arrest.
The Kafaba chief was arrested in Damongo by the Regional Police Command. We are interrogating him to know the side of his story too. After that, you will hear the outcome. Apart from it, no arrest has been made. And with the arrest of the chief, I know he will assist police for us to get the other suspects. Kafaba is now a deserted place. Most of the people have relocated, but they can run, but they cannot.
Our source in the chief's family suggests the killing of Kuya Demeti was triggered by the burning of an NPP pavilion in the community 2 weeks ago, which angered the party supporters. The NPP youth in the town, we are told, informed the chief Zakaria Yahaya of their intention to bring a priestess, Serena Fatima, to Kafaba to help identify those behind the burning of the pavilion. Our source says though he objected, the youth went ahead and brought the priestess to Kafaba, and during her spiritual exercise, many residents, including the late Mame Kuya Demeti, came to the scene to observe. The priestess Serena Fatima singled out Kuya Demeti not as the one who burned the pavilion, but accused her of witchcraft. Kuya Demeti was later forced to drink some concoction, tortured, and later carried home where she died. Now, road safety experts say road crashes in Ghana and its related deaths have dropped as compared to previous years. They attribute this to the 3-week COVID-19 lockdown and other restrictions on funerals, weddings, parties, and other social activities. With the phased easing of restrictions and life getting back to normal, the country is likely to go back to its old days of rampant road crashes. As part of our Arrive Alive campaign, we bring back stories of how these accidents are robbing families of their loved ones. Maxwell Agbagba has been speaking to a wife and son of the 3 Kolebu urologists who died in an accident in 2005.
Send something in papers in remembrance of my husband.
Wife of one of the doctors, Dr. Cecilia Benchi, shows me articles she authored about the ghastly accident that claimed her husband's life. In August 2005, Dr. Isaac Benchi was returning from a monthly outreach program in the Bronx-Ahafo region, but he never reached home. He died with his senior, Professor John Quarty, and 34-year-old Dr. Benjamin Osewiafe. Dr. Cecilia Benchi has been narrating to me how she had news of the death of her husband.
We went to the mortuary, and there I saw them lying on the stretchers at the mortuary. I went round and looked at all of them. Imagine, I don't want to wish it on anybody. It's quite, I don't know. I don't know how to describe it.
Dr. Cecilia Benchi says her heart bleeds anytime she hears news of an accident. She wonders why some drivers who are to blame for the crashes which are preventable are not prosecuted.
And then to the drivers, my heart bleeds all the time. Each time you hear a crash, my heart bleeds. And I think it's the same for many, many others who have lost loved ones. We can manage to curb this. The carnage on our roads, they are man-made, I would call disaster. Okay, we have to, they are preventable. We drive, we speed up so much, we drink and drive, we don't rest when we need to rest. We want quick money at the expense of other people's lives. We don't obey regulations, rules and regulations. There are areas where they say they have speed limits, but we don't adhere to them.
I am now at the residence of Ian Quarty. His father, Professor John Quarty, died in the same accident on the Bonsu-Apija section of the Accra-Kumasi Highway.
We went into the mortuary and, I saw my father, and I identified him. And then I saw the other young doctor also lying there. And then I came back out.
He narrates to me what led to the accident. He says it is a shame majority of Ghana's major highways are not divided or dual carriageways.
So I think I got the report more from a statement that the driver had given. And he said that they were traveling back to Accra, and he saw an oncoming car which was trying to overtake the traffic on the other side of the road. I think he decided, in his estimation, that the car would not get back onto their side of the road before it got to them. So he pulled over to the side of the road and parked. And then the oncoming car's tire burst, and the car somersaulted and came and landed on their vehicle. I think that it's a shame that almost 15 years after my father died, we don't have a divided highway running from south to north and from east to west in this country. 15 years later, you cannot drive from Accra to Kumasi on a divided highway. You know, every time you hear about head-on collisions, you know that it is as a result of us not having divided highways. I think that 15 years on, the majority of our highways should be 4 lanes, 2 lanes going one way, 2 lanes going the other way.
About over 20 years now. Over 20 years. Over 20 years.
Dr. Bernard Morton has been a urologist at the Kolebu Teaching Hospital for more than 20 years. He was a close friend of 34-year-old deceased urologist Dr. Benjamin Osewiafe.
It starts from the design of our routes, and then the training of our drivers, and then the attitude of drivers as a whole. I know at one point in time they wanted to bring some level of education for drivers, and people kicked against it. But even if that, you should know that as a driver, you can make a lot of people lose their lives at a go. So it is a very, very serious, what do you call it, profession, and you shouldn't take it lightly. But I think the way the profession started in this country, it looks like once you know how to move gears and be able to manage crutches, then you can go on the road.
The entire community used to fetch water from a small pond filled with filth. Now residents in the eastern regional town of Domiabra, a town once saddled with waterborne diseases, share their stories of change since Promacedo Ghana Limited, producers of cowbell, intervened to construct a mechanized borehole there. Here's Joy News' Justice Beidou's report.
Brownish and covered by weeds. For many years, this has been the source of drinking water for the people of Domiabra here in the eastern region.
In the dry season, the water dries up. When it rains too, it gets muddy. We have to really struggle before we can fetch.
Like many other communities here in the Kwaebibrem district where it is located, this is a very deprived community. It has only recently been connected to the national grid. But its challenges with water has always been a major source of worry for its people, constantly blamed for the high cases of waterborne diseases in the area.
Water is life. Without water, life is hard. I know some people even walk on the desert because there is no water there. Some die.
We are happy to come here to Domiabra today and to invest in this community, giving back to the people who support us. 20 years ago, our brand was born in this country, and Ghanaians have patronized our product all these 20 years and built us into what we are. So we are very happy to invest in our community and to redeem our pledge, which we made a year ago, to provide a borehole in this community.
I'm grateful to Cowbell and also to God, and grateful that they thought about Domiabra, my town.
The new mechanized borehole constructed here by Cowbell is touching lives.
And in Boko, the poor state of that township, roads, poor sanitation and lack of jobs are top of the list of priorities for the people of the Boko Central constituency as the country moves towards another election. As Joy News, with support from the Star Ghana Foundation, prepares to take the Joy ballot box to the Boko Central constituency, Upper East Regional correspondent Albert Sori speaks to the ordinary citizens of Boko and came through with this report.
The Upper East Region town of Boko is believed to be one of the fastest developing towns in northern Ghana. Development here suffered some setbacks in the past due to the chieftaincy conflict that started in January 2008 and continued to spring up from time to time for many years after that. But today, peace has returned to Boko, and the proximity of the municipality to Togo and Burkina Faso has contributed to making this area a business hub. In fact, many believe that cost of living here in Boko is lower compared to other parts of the Upper East region.
At first, Boko, we can enter curfew 2 hours, 3 hours, 12 hours. It came to a time that a full 24 hours, we have to be in the room. Now, I believe with those particular group of people that were engaged in the fighting, now understanding has come and everything is moving onward.
For a constituency with a population of almost 120,000 people, the demand for development is also high. The current MPP government believes that it has done enough in the last 4 years to better the lives of the people of the Boko constituency.
We have the almighty free senior high school. Every family in this country, including families in Boko and its enclave, are enjoying the free senior high school project. Across this region, the farmers in this region that benefit more from plentiful food and jobs are those from the Boko area. The quantity of fertilizer that goes into those areas, because a lot of them are farmers. And then we have the almighty NAPCO.
But what do the ordinary citizens here in Boko think? Some of them spoke to Joy News.
Our main problem here is our roads. I will need something in the market to get up from my house and pick my motorbike, right and enter the market. The potholes, they are not even potholes. I think I will call them swimming pools, small ones also. In fact, it's not easy.
Business is not moving well because the town road is bad. We don't get customers because we no longer have tourists coming also here in the market. When it rains, the place becomes filthy and we can't even find a place to sit and sell our goods.
Business.
We are traders. We sell cassava, plantain, and many other produce. But because of the coronavirus, our goods are not being patronized. The roads here are terrible. We do not have shelter here in the market. When it rains, we don't have a place for cover.
For the youth of Boko, peace has returned to the area, but things are far from being rosy.
On behalf of all drivers and YOLO drivers, especially the popular name is Praja, Mama Kandu, we have different names given to it. Boko, the youth are using that sort of means for earning of living. Before you move from the township, the central of Boko, to a nearby place where you can even carry a passenger with a load of 5 cedi, I'm telling you, you may go and come and the amount you are going to spend on repairing the motor will cost you 50 Ghana cedis or 100 Ghana cedis. So we are appealing to the government to try his possible best.
The Joy ballot box is coming to the Boko Central constituency, and the people here are eagerly waiting for that opportunity to engage their duty bearers face to face.
We have been waiting for this particular time to come so that we'll be able to tell Ghanaians to understand the things we, especially in the Upper East, are passing through.
Yeah, the Joy ballot box, it will actually help the youth of Boko and people of Boko so that we'll get to know from our leaders or people who represented us in Parliament. So we'll hear from them and also be able to that. I think this will grant the youth and the people of Boko the opportunity to do that.
As the people of the Boko Central constituency await their turn on the Joy ballot box, the key issues in the minds of ship routes, poor sanitation, and the lack of jobs. It remains to be seen how the parliamentary candidate on the Joy ballot box. From the Boko Central Constituency East Region, Albert Sori.
And back here in the studios in Accra, my name is Aisha Ibrahim. I'm flag bearer hopeful of the People's National Convention. David Asibi Apasera has unveiled his plans for the party should he be given the nod to lead the party in the 2020 polls. David Apasera said Ghanaians will see, among other things, increase in the number of parliamentary candidates and the results reflecting the character of the party competing among the major parties. Though he has little hope of the party winning the 2020 polls, he believes the party's performance will not be abysmal. We'll take a break. We'll bring you more in business and sports.
Welcome back to business. The Ghana Rubber Estate Limited is estimated to lose over 550,000 euros in the coming years due to activities of illegal miners on some portions of its rubber plantation at Adawoso in the Ahanta West municipality. Over 500 illegal miners operating on the concession of the company say they are not ready to stop Galamsey due to lack of jobs. Correspondent in Athalia Kwanzaa visited the concession and has come through with the following report.
Busily conducting their illegal activities at a portion of a rubber plantation belonging to the Ghana Rubber Estates Limited at Adiawaso in the Ahanta West municipality are these over 500 illegal miners. The 25 acres of land has been barricaded with bamboo stakes by these illegal miners, with over 35 pits for mining dug within the past 2 weeks. A team of Operation Vanguard and police have come to stop them from the activities. These are just a section of the illegal miners here singing and chanting war songs, connoting that they are not leaving this concession for the Ghana Rubber Estates Limited. The presence of Operation Vanguard, the police, and even cameras could not deter them from going about their activities.
We are here on the initiative of Akufo-Addo's community mining. So we have all our documents which concern this particular land. We were asked to stop. Then we said we have all our documents. So we went to the MC of the land. Then they invited the chiefs, the grant managers to come. So when we went, it came into conclusion that we should come and do our work. Me, I don't see it as illegal mining because we have an approval.
The miners openly resist ejection by the Operation Vanguard team from the concession, saying they are operating legal community mines. Divine, one of the miners speaking to Joy News, says if Grill wants peace, they should allow them to work, else
they should allow us to do work because we will not accept it because I can't leave this work and go and steal. That means they don't want peace. If they want peace, then they should allow us.
Commanding Officer for Operation Vanguard in the Western Region, Superintendent Douglas Kumi, in an interview says their intention was to invite the leadership of the miners to engage them on the operation and ascertain if the operation were legal.
We have organized enough men to come here. You are all witness to what is happening here. We wanted a few people from the leadership to come out, go and sit down with us so that we have the opportunity to listen to them and know if they have had some meetings with the assembly and anybody who matters. But the leaders are not able to control the crowd and they are not able to come out. So we want to go back and then reorganize ourselves.
Corporate Affairs Manager of Grill, Perry Champon, says the continuous operation of these miners will cost the company a loss of 550,000 euros.
Yes, the area in question is about 350 acres. They've started within a small portion. If we don't take the necessary steps or the authorities do not stop them, it could cover the whole 350 acres. This area was replanted in 2010 with rubber And from 2010 to date, we've spent about 550,000 euros as investment in that area. We could lose all this investment of 550,000 euros. The potential or expected income from the same area is about 3.5 million euro over the next 30 years.
For Joy News, in Afalia Kwanza, Western Region.
Away from mining, techpreneurs and players in the e-commerce space are not impressed about the reduction in communication service tax. Even though government has reduced the tax from 9% to 5%, they say there's more to be done to sustain this niche market. In a yet-to-be-aired episode of AM Business, Charles Aite places the spotlight on the e-commerce space and how they're feeling the pinch of COVID-19.
Clicks and buttons, the new normal for thousands of Ghanaian entrepreneurs making it big on the internet. Call it a new age of business. Technology and mobile telephony have birthed a formidable niche economy for e-commerce and financial technology, raking in billions of cedis in revenue. The coronavirus pandemic may have disrupted world economies and streams of income, but not for the fintech and e-commerce space. I've come to meet Dr. Jihadi Osebonsu, Chief Executive and co-founder of TechLoft. For him, the impact of the pandemic has been bittersweet. Before COVID-19, Dr. Jihadi's office was filled with app developers imprinting their digital footprints on payment solutions in Ghana. Things are no longer the same.
Pre-COVID, as you can see, there's nobody in the office, right? But pre-COVID, the office was quite busy, a lot of developers, and because we're a startup, you get a lot of developers coming in and leaving, right? Going on to different companies, but you get a lot of developers coming in and leaving. We had a lot of an active market activation team, right? We had teams that were constantly going out looking for agents, looking for churches. Now we cannot really do that. We have to rely a lot on referrals from people who are already using our systems. And then we also have to look at new business lines, especially because now everybody seems to be moving towards the future of work. Right. Before COVID, we were also planning a lot of fundraising activities because we need to meet Bank of Ghana's new minimum capital requirements. And so most of those plans would have manifested this year, but COVID has affected travel. And I think for a lot of fintechs, we would have issues fundraising outside Ghana because of the travel ban.
Away from that, the Ghana Private Road Transport Union, GPRC, has reduced transport fares by 10% effective August 1, 2020. The move follows a review of COVID-19 protocols and public transport, allowing drivers to operate at full capacity. Earlier, some commercial drivers had rejected a reduction, but the GPRC says it has rescinded that decision for the sake of fairness. And I have been joined by the Executive Secretary of the Chamber of Petroleum Consumers, COPEC, Duncan Amwan, on the phone lines for more. Hello, Duncan. Good evening. Thanks for your time. Hello, Duncan. Looks like we don't have Duncan, but we'll go to the commodity markets when we come, but we'll try and see if we can get Duncan. Looks like we have Duncan back on the line. Good evening, Duncan, and thanks for your time. Hello, Duncan. Do we still have Duncan? Can you hear me, please?
Yes, I can hear you. Good evening to your viewers.
Great, thanks for your time. Looks like a good news for you. You've been expecting this, or you've been calling for this. Is this a great news?
I'm quite certain that many Ghanaians are happy following from today's meeting at the Transport Ministry and series of demands or requests by well-meaning Ghanaians for transport fares to be reviewed downwards since the social distancing rule is no longer applying. If you ask, we were expecting to get the full 15% reduced, but when you go through a negotiation process, you should also make room for other people's expectations to be met. So, contrary to the apprehension that we had seen earlier from a section of drivers that they were not going to reduce transport fares and that they were going to charge the new rates and still pick additional passengers without giving any respite to Ghanaians. Quite a good number of them, as I speak with you now, agree with the common position that indeed they would have to review the transport prices downwards so as to enable people be able to move about in this difficult process or period of COVID-19.
So you have to make some adjustments. You wanted 15%, that was not agreed on. Are you fully satisfied with the 10%?
This will probably be one of the few times in Ghana's history that transport fares have gone up and they've come down. If you ask, I think for most Ghanaians it's a good start. The fact that our transport operators are willing to be fair when their time comes for increases, almost every Ghanaian, some way, somehow, tend to agree with them, and some way we support them. When the time also comes that they have to be fair to the ordinary Ghanaian, they have demonstrated. And for this, I would specifically want to mention the GPRTU chairman and his team. I think that they've been overly cooperative, and although, like I said, if we had the full 15% reduction, Ghanaians would have been a lot happier. But 10% is also very significant, and we do think that it is a good start for now. If in the future there has to be further reductions, I'm quite certain that as we go through these motions and processes, our transport operators would now begin to accept that things don't always go up. Sometimes you also get to review them downwards. And that is good news for our market women and everybody else who depend on these public transport operators in order to be able to go about their normal day-to-day jobs. All
right, Duncan, quickly, in about 30 seconds before you go. I mean, one of the reasons that the drivers gave and the transport union gave for refusal to reduce prices is because for some time now they claim that they've not been able to increase prices, and then fuel prices are also going up. Will you be surprised if prices of fuel goes up at the pump in the next pricing window? Drivers will increase fares.
For a very good reason, there seems to be a working understanding between our transport operators and the Ministry of Transport. The Honorable Esiama seems to be doing quite some good job at the ministry. What it means is that if fuel were to go up beyond a certain threshold, I'm quite certain that we would all agree once their input variance, one of the major input variants for them, which is petrol, goes up, and cost of spare parts also go up, and they would need to come and negotiate for further increases. The numbers will be slightly different from what the COVID fares, as we termed it, did mean. And so once we get there, once Ghanaians begin to see that indeed what they are asking for is justified, I do not think we would ever resist helping them in order to stay operational.
Okay, Duncan, thank you so much for your time this evening. Certainly some good news. And that's how we wrap up for business tonight. I'm Sandra S. and I'm going to log on to myjoyonline.com/business for more business news update. We have the second part of sports with Gary Al Smith.
I'm Gary Al Smith with the sport. In the last 30 minutes, some good news for Jordan Ayew. Jordan has won the 3 top awards at Crystal Palace end of season gala. He has been voted player of the season, players player of the season, and his goal against West Ham, the goal of the season as well. Don't forget that he scored 9 times, and he had 37% of the votes cast. Over 6,000, or just about 6,000 votes were cast. He beat his teammates Vicente Guaita and Gary Cahill, who came second and third. So you can see that latest breaking news update on our Instagram at JoySportsGH. Moving on, and Carl Loco seems to be a man who embraces the adage, catch them young. And as a boxing trainer, his 8-year-old son, Hakeem, has been introduced already to the sport. Now, Carl says he showed interest in boxing at the age 4, and he's decided to guide the young gun to reach the pinnacle of the sport.
Hakeem Lawrence is one of the young boxers touted to have a bright future under the tutelage of his father, Carl Loco, the former trainer of Richard Comey. Many believe that Hakeem has got the right man to steer his career. According to Carl Loco, the 8-year-old boy showed interest in boxing when he was 4.
I will never say I started teaching gradually because, like I said again, he's a kid who was growing up to see his father getting up, from bed, trying to go to his work, like going to training, picking up your pad and your tools. All the time I call it tools because that's what we use. He will follow me even when he was not even walking. So he will come with me to this gym and start crawling over here when I'm training. So keep doing that up to the age of 4, and he start making signs that he wants to do it. And I asked him, are you sure? He said, yes. I said, then fine. Then I'm looking up to you. I'm ready for you. So honestly, from 4 years, he started making the sign fully, so I start training him from there.
He's been fighting in the Juvenile Boxing League, which was organized by the Ghana Boxing Authority. He has an incredible record of 7 fights with no defeat. Carl Loco says he has given him the opportunity to watch all the best boxers in the world to make a choice of which boxer he wants to be like.
Yeah, at least, like I said again, he's having a father who is doing boxing before he was born. So that tells you I talk to him a lot. I give him the chance to watch a lot of the boxers. I give him a list of boxers to watch currently and previous. So he developed to start following Aikwoki. And I was asking him why. He said, no, coach. He called me coach at that time. Coach, the way he jab is very strong. And I said, look at your body. You're talking about somebody jab is strong. So at least he proved to me the reason why he was following and want to be like Aikwoki. At first, he normally talks about something like Deontay Wilder. But whatever look at him, he's not a big weight for now. But it's good. He has somebody that is what's calling now. But he has developed to follow Aikwoki, to fight like Aikwoki. So that means he has a lot to do. As we all know, the passion, the effort that I put in his fight at the time. So I just have to allow him to follow whoever I choose to follow.
Hakeem, if he gets his career right, just might be one of the youngest boxers in the country to grow up to become a world title winner.
I'm Gary Alsmith.
Time now for the interactive segment, and you've been following the conversation with a leading member of the NDC, Professor Kwame Naahoe, who talks about how the former president has learned his lessons to be a better president in 2021. Not just that, he's been talking about how the running mate, Professor Nana Jono-Opoku-Agyeman, was not his choice, but he accepts the candidate's choice. We posted this on Facebook, and a number of comments are coming in. 38 comments so far, 48 shares, 264 likes. Let's start with Eagle Eye. He says, copied from NPP platform, really? After extensively watching and monitoring the outdooring of the NDC's running mate, I come to understand that His Excellency Bawumia should not be anywhere compared against the Professor Agyeman. She's a woman of integrity and honor. Close to an hour speech she delivered, she never mentioned any name or spoke challenge word, but her address directly spelled out all the problems Ghana is currently facing with a clear-cut solution. Again, it was only Minority Leader mentioned my party name, MPP, just once. But if it were MPP, we would have said John Mahama's and NDC's name more than 1 million times. The program lasted for about 3 hours, but neither Nana or Bawumia's name was mentioned. A bright and eloquent family gathering, peaceful and lovely. We must learn as a party. The shameful and triviality talk must stop. And Freddie says the victory of NDC is coming again. Michael Abdullah Wumpini says your preferred choice wouldn't have been another person's choice, sir. John Asan says, Professor, this is not the right time to say whatever it is. You just support them. Augustine Donko says this man is well educated. Destiny Olympia says that's not a problem because in life you don't need everybody to support your choice. And that'll be it for the interactive segment. That's also how we wrap up the bulletin tonight. My name is Aisha Ibrahim. Many thanks for watching. PM Express is happiness, and of course the full interview with Professor Kwame Nahoi will be airing at 9. Stay on the Joy News channel.